Hey everybody. So last time we got it to where we made this um, input box, and we also got our form data. And so the next thing we need to do is get this form data into here. Um, so the first issue that we need is the template needs to have access to this form. It needs to know what form it's looking at. So the probably the only way I can think of to do that is to have this mesh item have a form element. So something along the lines of this: mesh item dot form is equal to form. That way the template will know what the form is. But this is a problem because our interface doesn't support that. So we need to add that. So we're going to do that. So I'm just going to say form is equal to form group. And then that's cool. It just did the input. Sometimes it does import for me automatically. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so we have an error. And it's because we've created form interfaces without forms. So we need to say that that's optional. And there we go. And we are back. All right. So now what we can do is we can take this form. Okay, so now we have this form. So we can go into the template and we can wrap this form where we have our form, we can wrap it in a form element. So that makes sense because it is a form. And then, um, let's see, let me just fix this. Oh, hey, I got a bonus minute 46. Um, let's see, we'll just do a bit of that. And then, so a form can have a form group. And that we are going to calculate. And we're going to calculate it based on the mesh dash form. So basically that's what this these brackets mean, is say this is not, don't take this as a literal, take this as a calculation. Okay, so we have multiple issues. First, it doesn't know what a form group is, and by it I mean the compiler, the transpiler doesn't know, and that's because we need to import something called reactive modules, reactive form modules, something like that. Yeah, and then we need to, so we imported it and then we need to add it to our imports. So there we go. So now we have a new problem, and that's that this thing, since in the interface we said that it could be, it was optional, the transpiler is noticing that we may not have a mesh form and that this could break. So we have to add an if around that. Um, So we'll move our form in here. And it makes sense. We probably don't want to actually render the form if there is no form. So, boom. All right, so those two problems are now solved. So now we have this. So now we can update our input. So if we were to look at our, if we look at our input right now, why imagine it? We have no data. So we can just say, um, form control name is equal to, so we didn't put, you might notice we didn't put brackets around it, and that is because we are telling it to take this literal x position as the control name. All right, so now when we hit this, theoretically, yep, so now we have a value, and that's awesome. This is too big. This is a good time to fix that. So let's go ahead, and we know it's inside that data. So if there's an input and it is inside of the data value, we are going to give it a width of 35 pixels. We will probably end up changing this or adding more complexity to it or something in the future, but that works for now. I like that. Okay, so now we have it showing that, but we have it showing properly, but we need to also listen for changes. And with that comes a bit of complexity around, because we need to use RxJS, because we're going to subscribe to the value changes, which returns a subject, subject, and then we get a subscription, and those subscriptions need to be deleted or we'll get a memory leak. So we have our form, so we're going to say form dot value changes. Okay, so when we mouse over this, it'll tell us that, yeah, we get an observable back, and it's going to have an ID and a position in it. And we're going to subscribe to that, and we are going to take this, and basically we are going to take our form.value.xPosition, and we're going to just say if we have that. So this is going to be a value, and we're going to also say, we need to say and if it's, or no, we're going to say or if it's equal to 0, because this will actually return a false if it's 0. So, and if it is 0, we actually want to render the element as 0. Now, right here, we need to then now have it update, which is, the main goal, but we do have a bit of housekeeping to do. And that is because this guy is going to return a subscription, and this subscription needs to be deleted in one of two cases. If the entire component is destroyed, we need to delete it. It also needs to be deleted if this mesh item is deleted, so like in here. So there's a bunch of overhead that's going to probably take up the rest of the time, but basically to start, we need to create a subscription. So we'll do that right here, and I'll just say subs. And I'm going to say subs because I want, since there can be more than one array or more than one of these meshes, that means that there can be more than one. I mean, that means we'll have one for each, so we need to probably have a list of them. And then so we have our subs, so what we're going to say is, we're going to do this, const sub colon subscription is equal to this, and then we're going to add it to our subs array dot push sub. All right. So in the first case where we destroy the entire component, we need to create a life cycle hook for that. So, and that life cycle hook is called onDestroy. So we need to import that. And then in the class definition, we need to say implements onDestroy. And then it's going to complain because onDestroy doesn't exist. So we need to come here and we say ng onDestroy, and then we say this.subs.for each. So for every one of the subs, we want to go into it. We're going to get an instance of it, and we are going to call sub dot unsubscribe. So we're going to call that function, but it's always a good idea to, I don't know how that happens, but sometimes they don't have an unsubscribe function, so don't call it if it doesn't exist. So there's that. Oh, and I always put a semicolon there when you're not supposed to. All right, so this will handle the case where we destroy the entire thing. Now, we also need to be able to remove it if they manually, like, so if they come in here and then they delete it, see, we already, that subscription still exists even though we deleted the mesh. So what we need to do is go back into our interface and add a sub attribute, which is a subscription, and it's optional. And then we want to go back into this guy, and we want to say we want to add it to the mesh. Mesh item dot sub is equal to sub. All right, so that's great, except that our delete mesh only knows the ID, and we don't really have a really good way to sort of inspect everything and find the ID. So we need to actually pass the whole mesh in here. So this needs to be mesh item, which is a mesh interface, right? Which then this needs to be mesh ID, mesh item dot ID, and then we can say mesh item dot sub dot unsubscribe. And it automatically added these question marks in here so that in case unsubscribe doesn't exist, we are not going to call it. So that's good. Now we got a problem in here in the template because we're only sending in the ID from the delete flag, and that's simple. All we do is remove this. All right. So unfortunately, all we did today was we're running out of time. We're running out of time, and all we managed to do today was fill out this and set up all the infrastructure so that on the next video I can actually start changing things in real time. So anyways, that's awesome. Stay tuned for more cool stuff. Have a great time coding. See y'all later. Bye.